So here's the latest acquisition. It's a pine antique chest and it's got some really nice character to it, but it is going to require some repair work. We've got another chest which we use as coffee table and for a bit of storage, but it's somewhat smaller, and we wanted one that we could use that's definitely got a flat top for using as a table, but something that's big enough to throw all the kids' toys in there and keep the place looking a bit more respectable. So as far as what's needed to be done, the whole thing needs to be stripped back, but not stripped back so much that we lose all the character. Someone's made a start on it on the top here, and there's a little bit left. There's a difference between character and dirt, and what I don't want to do is just varnish or wax something that's still filthy. So we'll give it a really good clean and take a little bit more off the top. The front here, if you look quite closely, you can see that somebody's already had a quick go with a orbital sander, because you can see those sort of telltale marks, the spiraling of the grip. So that's probably what needs to be done anyway, but we'll need to make sure we take it all the way through the grip so we leave none of those marks on there. As far as the metal wear, most of the screws look like they should come out. There's no lock on it, but that's not a huge problem. It was rebated on the back anyway, so there's no character lost on the front. But these brackets will probably take off so we can sand it properly, and then we'll put them back on. I'm not going to repaint them. They're not overly rusty, and I think if we paint them and make them perfectly black again, it'll lose some of that character. So we'll leave them as they are and just kind of give them a wax finish or maybe lacquer. There are some bottom brackets down here which are quite rusted. They're a thinner gauge metal as well. I think we'll probably end up taking those off and sanding, but until I've got a closer look at those, I can't really tell. The actual handles are really nice as well, and again we'll take them off and leave them as they are, finish the wood and then replace them. So the lid is one board of pine, which is quite unusual considering its size, but it hasn't cut that much. It seems to be okay and nice and flat, and I will need to kind of re-laminate these side trim pieces on with a few pins as well. We'll just glue them on to keep that rigidity. The hinges are offset, so it will hold back. It will hold open on its own, but it's missing some screws here, and we may need to either re-drill or look at another way of fixing that if they've pulled out. Once those are on, that'll make the lid fit a bit better. Looking at the inside, it's fairly used condition, but there's a couple of little brackets either side, which I'll show you now, and we might just do a bit of tidy up in here. I'm not going to line it or anything like that. It's going to be a well-used box, so I think what I'll do is sand it where needed, and we'll repaint the inside. At the moment it's in a matte black, so we could stick with that just so it's all the same and nice and tidy, or we could brighten it up a bit with something lighter. But I want to make sure the outside stays wooden, and I'm not going to mess around with any fancy paints. I want it to be a nice antique-y looking piece that's going to be practical in the house. So here's a look at the inside. As I said, it's fairly used condition. It's a boarded base to it, and that's flat on the bottom as well. Someone seems to have lined it with carpet or something. There's some underlay stuck in one patch, but I think what we'll do is we'll just give it a really good clean out, give it a rub back, and we'll repaint that, and we'll decide on a paint once we've done. So here's a quick look at the hinges. So as you can see, they're offset hinges, so what should happen is that this lid should actually rest on that top bar, which stops it from opening too much. But what's happened is where these have popped out, the lid is now not being supported properly, so we'll need to sort that out. And what I'll also do is probably put some stays on it so it's safe and it's not going to go falling down on anyone. Somebody's also butchered some holes in the back here with a drill, and not quite sure what they're for, whether there was a live animal in here in transit, or perhaps they were for cables or something. I'm not sure. But anyway, that's right at the back of the chest, and I'm not too concerned. What we'll do is we'll just make sure that there's no splinters or rough edges and leave it as it is. I think the actual colour of this floor in here, which is using the Osmo products, is something along the lines of where we want to go with it. It's going to be in the other room, so it's not going to clash with the floor, but that floor just gives it a nice luster finish to it. So this is one of the first jobs, this floor, when we moved into the house, and we decided to use the Osmo Poly-X oils, and we've been really impressed with them. We use them everywhere in the house, and I think that's probably where I'm going to go with the chest. So whether we keep it really light and just use the clear, or whether we use the honey colour like we have here, we'll have to wait and see. It'll really depend on how light this is when it's stripped. So there's a little sneak peek at our next project. Make sure you subscribe to keep up to date with all the videos on the house and other woodworking and restoration projects. Here's a couple of videos that I've picked out from the past. So the top left video is our church pew renovation that we did for a wedding gift, and at the bottom left you can see one of our first videos, which was making an oak bench from some garden sleepers. And make sure, as I said, to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, and remember, if you can, do it yourself.